What I'd like to do with you now is create an ERD for our final project. Now, I'm doing it for a recipe site, as you may have heard. You can replace my tables with your tables, but you do have to do an ERD for this project. So let's look at the requirements and build an ERD off it together. I'm going back to ERD Plus, and when I look at my requirements, I'm definitely going to have to store a username and password for the administration. I'm definitely going to have to create some sort of user table, and I'm definitely going to have to create some sort of content table. Okay, so let's think about this. If I do this, I can create something like an entity here, and my content is going to be recipes. Yours can be whatever. It can be whatever your project title is. I'm definitely going to need a users table. And so we'll create that entity as well. Let me grab another entity, and this will be recipes. So all I'm doing is thinking about how this is going to be created. I know that my professor has demanded that it be second normal form. So that means the borrowed key is going to be okay. So I have recipes, I have users, and maybe I have one more entity called admin. Okay, so if I have admin and recipes and users, I might need something called comments. So let's add that as well. So this is called comments. And I think those are the four things that I need to remember for my structure. Well, let's focus on the rules. I am a chef. I'd like to post my own recipes. Users can search for those recipes and comment on specific recipes. So let's focus on the recipes first. Okay. Now I have recipes here. I should definitely have an ID that's unique here, and it should be connected to my recipes. I probably need the recipe title, maybe recipe. We'll keep the same table name, of course, but I'll add another attribute here. This will be a recipe title, and maybe I have another one called recipe description. Now, because I'm the only one, the administrator, who's publishing this, I can assume that the user ID who's publishing the recipe is me, the administrator. Okay, so just this right now is okay. Admin logs in, he's able to publish the content. So when we think about how this will work, that's what's driving my logic right now. I'm an administrator, I'm going to log in, and I'm going to publish my recipe. It'll have the title, the description. I don't need to do more. I can put all my content inside the description. I can put my list items, my time of, my ingredients, things like that. When we create ERDs, we need to keep them simple. What may happen later is maybe I add ingredients. Maybe I add time of cooking. But right now, I know that this recipe title, recipe itself, which is going to be in the description, is done. So now I can focus on my admin because we always start with what the user would say, and the user is me, the administrator. So inside here, I might have something like an attribute that is the username. Okay, I'll have a unique username to make sure my admin credentials are safe. And then maybe I have a password. Because I am the only one who is submitting these recipes, this is sufficient for what I'm doing. I don't even need an ID. This will be a holder table. Something that I can log into to see if I'm actually the administrator. Okay, so there's only one of me, so I don't need an ID. You're not searching for me, so I don't need to be indexed. So there's that. Okay, so let's say we have users now. Now, we know the users from my requirements are prohibited from making one comment per IP address. Okay. So what we can do is say, okay, let's talk about the comments now. This could be and we don't need a title, we don't need anything like that. We could do the comment itself, comment, certainly not unique. I'll connect it to the comments, and maybe a borrowed ID of the user. So I'll have this as an attribute. This will be my user ID. Great, so now we have that. Okay, so this comment, now we need one more thing. which recipe is this comment about? So I'm going to have a borrowed key, that's the recipe ID. Remember, my requirement is that this is a second normal form. And because this ID will relate to this, we're good. Now, don't we want these comments to be searchable? Well, let's go ahead and grab another attribute called ID that will be unique and primary. And here, we can go ahead and know that our comment could be comment 1, user ID 1, I hate this recipe, recipe ID is 1. So when we look at this, and I'm going to make these all small case because I want consistency across my nomenclature here, but feel free to do whatever you'd like for your final project. I'm just saying that this is right now in second normal form and it needs to stay that way. Okay, so one comment per ID. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the username, okay? This can be an ID for that user, ID unique. And we don't need a membership system per se, but maybe we want an actual username here where they can just, say who they are, okay? And this username can be, let's do this, and we'll call this username. Again, they don't need a password. The only thing restricting them, according to my rules, are that they have one IP address. So now I ask you folks, through this rhetorical video, where should we hold our IP address? If we're only allowed one comment per recipe per IP address, where should we put the IP? Now the IP could relate to the comments, certainly, but I'm going to go ahead and keep track of the IPs and the comments in a separate table. That would be third normal form, okay? So basically, this is going to be a holder table, and this will be called IP addresses. Okay, and this can be the comment ID right here, and this could be the user ID. Now, don't feel like you have to copy me, okay? I'm doing this because I want to show you the idea. This would be third normal form, this one table. Because what we're doing is keeping our IP addresses separate. So I have something to query when a user actually goes in and makes a comment about a recipe. I do this because my user, let's say it's KSecor, he might have numerous IP addresses. I have one at home, one at work, one on my phone. But I want to make sure that the user ID off the IP address is same as the comment ID. So I'm using this as, and now I have to add one more thing, the actual IP address. IP address. So once I connect this, then we can see that these are all borrowed. User ID is that, comment ID is this, and the IP address is this. Okay, so seeing as how it's week 14, I'm going to go ahead and create these tables in the next video, and you can follow along if you'd like. Obviously, if you're doing something like sports or something similar, you could really have a similar logic to this, and then what we can do is put some fake data in and build the site around it and then create the forms just so your logic makes sense. So that's how this will go. If you follow along each week and work on your own each week with a different topic, you'll see that this will work. Okay, so this is my ERD.